Test 1, which is Thursday this week. So to prepare for the test, it's going to cover 3 big topics. Voting, which was the 4 different methods of voting that we learned and that you completed your project about. There's 4 different methods and 4 different fairness criteria. And if you take a look at page 9 of this packet, we have a nice summary of the voting methods and the fairness criteria. And this you are allowed to bring with you to the test. You can rip it out and bring it to the test with you. Page 9. Let's go back to where we were. You should be familiar with all the vocabulary of voting from Chapter 1. What is a majority? What is a Condorcet candidate? Etc., etc. Tactical voting and Arrow's impossibility theorem. So those are sort of the big topics from Chapter 1, voting. And then Chapter 2 was on weighted voting. You should be familiar with the vocabulary with that. Players, veto power, dictator, coalition and sequential coalition, weighted voting notation, which is these brackets and the colon, and calculating the 2 kinds of power indices, BPI, Banzhaf Power Index, and SSPI, the Shapley-Shubik Power Index. And page 7 of your packet has a nice summary about how to do that. Finding the Banzhaf Power Index, with a handy list of all the coalitions with 3 players and 4 players, and how to calculate BPI. And then I believe the next page we have SSPI, how to calculate the Shapley-Shubik. So you can bring both of these with you to the test. They're just little summaries, how to do those, pages 7 and 8. All right, and then we have cryptography. You should be able to encode and decode with all of the ciphers we learned. There are 4 of them. Or Caesar and shift are sort of almost the same thing, right? Caesar is a shift 3 places to the right, but I could also specify some other kind of a shift. And then we have Bifid, Vigenère, and AutoKey. We also learned a little bit about modular arithmetic. That's like adding on a clock. And then resources for the test, you can use a calculator, the BPI and SSPI reference sheets, and the voting reference sheet, 7, 8, and 9 in the packet. Right. You can use your 2 alphabet cutouts if you want, and you can bring 1 page of notes of your own creation. No longer than 8.5 by 11. You can write on both sides of it. It contain any material written or typed by you. It should not be a photocopy of someone else's sheet or direct photocopy of pages from the book or this packet. On the test, I will provide you with several copies of blank grids located on pages 3 and 5 of the packet. But they'll all be on the same piece of paper, not sprinkled throughout the test. So let's look at what kind of grids I'm talking about. So these are the grids for which method of cryptography? Do you remember what it's called? Bifid, yeah. These are grids for Bifid. I'll provide you with a bunch of these on the test, and I will provide you with a bunch of these grids, right, where you write out the phrase, change it to numbers, and use either a keyword or a keyword and the message itself. So you'll have several of those to help you organize your work. So you don't need to bring those. I will give them to you. So some advice for the test: get a good night's sleep, show your work, pace yourself, read the questions carefully. The test is written to be 1 hour and 15 minutes, but it's written, sorry, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes. It's written to be a 1 hour test. If you have accommodations or other special test requirements, talk to me today. Or even if you've already told me, talk to me again today to remind me. There's no learning objectives, no homework for next class, just study. The day after the test, I believe that there is a homework due, but it's like super short and fast in my. To the test? You can bring page 7 and 8, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no, that's due Thursday. Let's still do Thursday. There's no new homework, sorry. I'm not assigning any new homework today. But your homework 7 and 8 are still due Thursday. So at the end of your packet is this study guide for test 1. And I've given much more specifics about what you need to be able to do well on the test. Just this big list here. Again, I wrote out the resources for the test. And then there's some sample test problems. Complete solutions to these problems are posted on YouTube. You don't have to search for phrases, but you can. I did title them like this. So you can search YouTube directly, or you can go to the link through Moodle. It takes you right to the playlist. There are videos by both me and Ian Winokur for some of the sample test problems. So you can watch both of them. Maybe we explain it in a slightly different way. It might be helpful. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but in the Moodle site, when I have the links to all the daily lectures, Professor Winokur's are also there. So if you wanted just a slightly different lecture, maybe hear it a different way, you can watch his too. All right, anybody have any specific questions ready about logistics or material? The clock arithmetic? Okay. So if I wrote, 3 plus 16 mod 12. Actually, sorry, the mod 12 goes after everything. Okay, so you look at the mod 12 and you go, okay, that means we're doing arithmetic on a 12-hour clock, but we make the 12 a 0, right? Instead of having 1 through 12, we have 0 through 11. So this is like, if it's 3 o'clock now, what time will it be 16 hours from now? 7 o'clock? How'd you get that? Yeah. Because you can always add 12 hours and you'll be at the exact same time, right? So 3 plus 12 gives you the 3 back. It's 3 o'clock again. And then you have to go 4 more hours. So that's 7. So if it's a mod 12, it's familiar to us to think about what it means to be mod 12 because we do it all the time on a regular clock. But let's say a clock only has 5 hours on it, right? So I have 2 plus 8. And I want to do this in mod 5. I have to imagine a clock that only has 5 hours on it instead of 12 now. So we'll put 0 at the top, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of 1 through 5, we have 0 through 4. So if you start at 2 and add 8 hours, where do you end up? No such thing as 10 o'clock. There's only 0 through 4. Yeah, so you start at the 2 right here, right? And then you count 8 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You landed 0. And you could also do it the same way we did with the 12-hour clock. You could say, I can always add or subtract 5, and I'll land back at 2. So if I do 2 plus 5, that gets me back to the 2 again, and then I have to add 3 more to make the 8. And 2 plus 3 more hours would be 0. Okay. Yes. 3 minus 8 in mod 7, we could draw ourselves a clock that has 7 hours on it. We start at 0, and we have to then put 1 through 6. 0 through 6 would be 7 hours. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we start at 3, and then you go backwards 8 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you land at 2. Another way to do that without drawing a clock every time is to just repeatedly add or subtract the mod 7. You can just do the arithmetic regular, right? 3 minus 8 is negative 5 in standard arithmetic. And then you can always add or subtract the modulus and get an equivalent number on the clock, right? So if I add 7 here, because that's my modulus, then I would get 3 minus 8 is equivalent to negative 5 plus 7 is 2. So you can do it 2 ways. You can draw yourself a clock, or you can do it in standard arithmetic and then add or subtract the modulus until you get a number that's on your clock, 0 through 6. Mm-hmm. So if I did 2 plus 8, I would have gotten 10. So I do 2 plus 8, I would get 10. But my answer can only be 0 through 4 if I mod 5. So it's too big, so I'm going to say subtract the modulus, and I get 5. Still too big. I have to be 0 through 4, so I subtract 5 again, and I get 0. Any other questions? No, I won't give you a cryptogram to decrypt on the test, because it takes a while. Yeah, yeah, that's fair game for homework, not fair game for a timed test. Yeah. Even though they're fun. Sudoku, yeah. You kind of use the same kind of problem-solving skills, but it's different kind of problem. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna